Hello, I'm football commentator Derek Ray, and you're listening to the 𝘫 Weekly Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to week 7 of the 𝘫 Weekly Podcast. A quick note before I forget that you're probably still waiting on last week's main feed episode. It was an interview with Jamie from EA and is yet to go through the process that means it can go out. So just hold out a bit longer for that. We'll have something probably some point early this week, and you can find that on this channel, subscribe, etc. But we'll get straight into it and introduce our guest for this week, because 𝗏𝗡𝗏 is here, and it started in pretty spooky way. We'll get into that with 𝘃𝑚𝑎𝑥𝑐𝑒𝑙𝑠. Hello Josh, welcome back.
Yes, good to be here. I missed the episode with Taz last week.
The one that did go out. Supporter episode, by the way.
Go out, yeah. And managed to eventually record the one with EA, and then that one didn't come out. So but no, good to be here. It's spooky season has arrived. I feel sufficiently scared.
Yeah, and we also have with us game critic and consultant Brammers. Welcome back to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here. I'm a big fan of 𝗏𝗏𝗏, and I'm excited to talk about all of the horrors that EA has in store for us.
Yeah, for the video watchers, at some point you might have a spooky surprise for people on video. So we will maybe see that at some point. And for now, we will get into. I guess let's pick last week's pound for pound Powerhouse then. And
I thought you did that with Taz.
We did it with Taz. We did pound for pound with Taz. Yes.
Didn't he pick a winner though? I thought he did.
Yes. Yeah. This is for that week.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
The way it works. Sorry, Brammers is new here. Just so you understand, the way it works is when we do a new podcast, we then we judge last week's, but then put our own nominations forward for the next week's, so there's something to judge the week after. It's all right. We all get confused the first
I've just been so thrown off by the absence of the content episode last week. My brain is atrophied.
Don't worry, we're all we're all struggling as a result. Yeah.
Anyway, who am I judging?
I mean, no pressure now. You've really suggested you weren't interested in doing this, but we'll do it. So we had 𝘵𝗀𝗻𝘀𝘁, gold Argentinian centre back, Mainoo from the season pass. We had 𝘰𝑗₀, and that's the was it ratings refresh version?
It's irrelevant. As a Man United player, so he's not going to win.
It's not. Is it? But was it ratings reload? I can't believe I've forgotten the name. I have multiple times. Reload. Okay, I said refresh. That's what it used to be called when they did January upgrades, right? That's what. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it. And then we had 𝗏𝗏. I tried to nominate 2 players, so I'm probably disqualified anyway. But the player I actually nominated, I think, was 𝘵𝘵𝑚𝘚𝑐. So yeah, who
is he? The silver one.
They're both silvers. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I did listen to this podcast. It's just clearly just completely gone. Who was the first one again?
Oh yeah, there was quite a few there. Impressive considering it was just Taz and I on that episode. Right?
Yeah.
The other one, or the first one, was 𝘵𝗫𝗀𝘏.
𝘵𝗫𝗍, yes. Not familiar with his work, but he sounds great, so let's go with him.
I mean, for 700 coins, you can't go wrong, can you?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's great value, pound for pound, indeed.
Dynamite discard impact, isn't it?
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go with 𝘵𝗫𝗀𝘏. Well, it's nice to start an episode off with a lot of chaos. Appropriate for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀 as well, I think.
Absolutely.
Let's get into this week's pound for pound, and we'll go first with the listener nomination. So the listener nomination this week comes from Matt MS, and he went for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀 Pablo Fornals, an absolute bargain for 14k. He's extremely well-rounded and has DLP, deep lying playmaker ++ at both CDM and CM, with pinged pass, technical, rapid, relentless, and whipped pass base playstyles. He's an absolute beast in midfield. So a strong starting point for nominations, and we'll move on to you, Brammers. Who are you going to nominate for pound this week?
Well, I think there's only one card that we can go with this week, and that is, of course, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Peter Crouch. I bought this card for, I think, 45k at the weekend, and he's now 62 or something, so that's clearly, stonks, apart from anything else. But I think just a nice, fun way to deal with what a player who is otherwise never going to get into anyone's teams. Putting Technical Plus on him in the same week that you nerf Technical Plus is definitely a choice, But
It's very
hopefully-
𝗵𝗽𝗀𝘀 coded, I have to say that, isn't it?
they're gonna, even with the changes in the patch, I still found wiggling around with his technical plus very entertaining. He has low driven, he has first touch, he has the plus rolls for target forward and shadow striker because he's cam by default, which is quite nice. And overall, just a really fun, silly card that I think is a nice inclusion for a promo like this, where you kind of want that thing. Obviously, there are other novelty cards in the group. There's the George Campos striker card, which is fun as well. But yeah, I really like this. I like that it's very affordable, and yeah, more of this sort of thing, please, EA.
Yeah, I agree. Let us then move on to Josh. Who are you going to nominate?
So I'm loath to pick an ultimate screen player, mainly because I've not really used any of them so far. I will say I really like the look of 𝘭𝘪𝘀𝗀𝗯, the Colombian centre back from Juve. Just like really well rounded for a centre back, like really good dribbling, fully lengthy. Anticipate plus is really nice. So shout out for him. But I'm going to pick a player that I used kind of a little bit while I was away, but before I went away, and it's Tovans, Player of the Month. Just like someone who I bought for, or I completed for a Gauntlet squad. He just has something. Like GG rating, he's not great, so it's probably like not ideal to nominate him on that front. But the fact he's got base tiki-taka, he's also got finesse shot. His stats are just superb across the board. Like he was able to do everything I wanted from attacking midfield, and the fact that you can play half winger plus plus, I know lots of people don't use half winger plus plus, but advanced forward plus plus at striker is just really versatile. I think for like someone who can just fill your club for 20k, he will surprise you with how good he is. And I also just like the story of him as like an older gentleman who's kind of broken back into the French squad.
Yeah. An older gentleman. He's like 30, I assume. Definitely, he's definitely younger than me, isn't he?
Well, considering I turned 32 recently, I'm hoping he's not. Oh no! He's 32. He's 32. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
He's an older gentleman. He's at least 9 months older than me. So
okay. Nice, yeah.
You young whippersnappers.
Yeah, he's 2 months older than me. That's fine. Okay. Could he be your son, Brammers? I don't know. Maybe not quite.
I'm 41, so no, hopefully not.
That wasn't the.
Appreciate it, Ben. That's really made.
That wasn't actually the ultimate Scream surprise. Just to
the ultimate Scream surprise. Ben thinks I'm 50.
Let's get into finishing this final pound for pound. I think maybe I'm the only one person who hasn't actually nominated yet, so I'll do that, and I'll transition us nicely into talking about Scream as a whole, because the pound for pound that I am going to nominate is, do you know what? It could honestly be any of the ones that are like between 10 and 15k. To be honest, I think the reason why I'm saying that is basically because of the way that the Scream upgrades work, which people may be familiar with, but a quick explanation. Once we reach the next full moon, which for those not aware of how the celestial bodies are kind of aligning at the moment, is the 5th of November for the Beaver moon. All these Scream players will get 199 face stat for a week. And they also get a roll plus plus in every single position, but that's not so exciting potentially, although it can be very useful actually. And then on the 4th of December, which is, for those who don't know, the cold moon, they'll get another 99 stat for a week, but obviously that's just a single 99 stat, if that makes sense, but it's probably going to be a different one, isn't it? And they'll get a roll plus plus in every position. So what that means is, depending on which 99 stat is given for that week, these players could get significantly better. And so for a week, you may see some of these players jump up quite significantly in price from their 14,000 coins or whatever. Because even if, people are aware, which they will be, that that's a 1 week boost, that could still be quite a powerful thing to have and is going to be worth a lot more than that for the upcoming, let's say, champs. And people might be willing to pay like, I would say probably at least double for certain 99 stats. Obviously, it's worth looking at the ones that sort of higher GG rated because they're quite likely to be more popular. But it's really going to depend, I think, on which 99 stat they get. And obviously, we aren't going to know that until it happens. So spread your bets, basically.
Why would you assume that the listeners of the Foot Weekly podcast are not familiar with the movements of celestial bodies, though?
Yeah, I apologise to any offended listeners there.
𝗵𝗬𝗀𝘀𝘁
Yeah. And yeah, it's I think well, this is the first time we're getting Ultimate Scream back in the game. I think we talked with Taz about how, you know, it's actually something that I think has been a bit kind of rose-tinted spectacles situation, and actually there's a lot of nostalgia around it. It wasn't quite as popular, I think, at the time as people think it was, the original Ultimate Scream, where players got these 99 stat boosts. But I think people appreciated it was something quite different and a little bit of a twist, something that we're not kind of used to as a sort of slightly live-ish concept, I guess. And so I guess it is nice to see that back. And obviously these things are coming relatively soon. I mean, the 5th of November is pretty close, actually. It's like a week and a bit away, 10 days or something. So yeah, we start to see these things quite quickly, and then we'll see something again, and they'll also get permanent upgrades, which is nice too. So yeah, what are your thoughts on the concepts, Josh?
It's cool. I like Ultimate Scream. I think the idea of having a kind of weird upgrade card is fun. I think it's always been the card designs that have like made it for me, and I think these are really pretty cool. I kind of get the teeth ish. It's a little bit odd, but the fact that there's the full moon in the background of them, if when it is the full moon and they get their upgrade, I presume we're then going to have like a secondary card type that hopefully will look like pretty cool as well. I think the thing to remember as well is, even though they've given those 2 weeks when they are going to upgrade these cards, in the past with Ultimate Scream, there was then like random weekends where they would just boost them again, like 2 or 3 months later. Even if they were kind of behind the power curve by that point, it's something to bear in mind. I like it as a concept. I like what they've done. The role pluses being the permanent upgrade. It's fine. It's kind of a bit of nothing to me. I actually don't think role familiarity is all that important right now in the way that the game plays. I'm seeing a lot of people starting to play fullbacks at centre back and not feeling any issues whatsoever. So, take that what you will. They've all got a lot of alternative positions, which links into that upgrade. Some weird alternative positions, which then questions what stat boost they're going to get. I am looking at that 𝘃𝐵𝐴 and 𝘬𝘯𝘰, who are both centre backs who have right wing and left wing as alternative positions. Now, right mid and left mid they have actually played in the past, so it kind of makes some sense. But right wing and left wing they haven't. So, are we going to see 99 shooting, but with the rest of those face card stats, and it kind of is just a waste of that 99 upgrade? Maybe I'm being too harsh. But hey, I like it as a concept. I think the theming of SBCs, I think the kind of way that it can go throughout the whole game mode of Ultimate Team, and the way that we've got different tournaments, they're going to bring in spooky house rules. Like, I think, yeah, it's cool. I'm on board. Like, the fact it's come at the same time as a pretty major patch, or the first major patch of the year, I think has maybe like kind of tempered people's excitement for it a little bit. That and the fact that the entire squad was leaked like a week before it came out. But yeah, we're getting the puzzle SBCs that kind of give you a player and will build up to 𝘵𝘂𝘠𝘂. That's pretty cool. Hopefully they don't all require a player from one team like the first one did Valencia, because that's going to make it very, very expensive to complete. But hey, maybe that's the idea. So yeah, I like promos where the whole thing feels thought out, where it's in the evolutions and it's in the tournaments that we're bringing out, and it's in the SBCs and it's in objectives. Like, that feels like joined together thinking, which I think a lot of the time with content you can't really say that.
What are your thoughts on this, Brammers? Any disagreements? Any agreements?
Oh, no, I agree with Josh. I really like it. One thing I vaguely remember, that when remember those random weekends when they upgraded the older ones. Wasn't that because they kept forgetting about them? And like the content team,
I think actually might be
"Crap,
right.
we need to
Yeah,
upgrade
yeah.
them." I think it was something like that. But I have lots of fond memories. I mean, this 𝘬𝘳𝗀𝗀𝘀 gave us the original 𝘫𝗫𝗫𝗀𝘀 Bobby Firmino card, if I remember correctly, and therefore I'm semi-expecting them to do that again at some point, and would not complain if they wanted to do that. There's been a distinct lack of Liverpool past and present SBCs so far, so wouldn't complain. And I like what I saw on Friday. I like the themed SBCs. I like the fact that all the like you unlock a whole bunch of players that have sort of like there's Fuller and then Moon, and it's nice. It's fun. Fun stuff is a nice thing to do as the nights draw in. And the only thing that's funny, you mentioned the card design. I'm a bit weird about teeth. So having one of the teeth on the card is like a little bit weird, but I've kind of gotten used to it already. In general, though, I think they've done quite a nice job of the whole thing. There's a nice spread of cards you can actually afford as well that are still good. So, like, we used to talk a lot about like not having a mid-tier, and there would just be like discard and then 1 million or whatever. And they've definitely, got the super expensive cards, but they've got, your Kimmicks and 𝘵𝘃𝗀𝗀𝘀𝘀, is that how you say his name? And the Pogba SBC is actually surprisingly affordable, things like that, which I think is really good. So,
I mean, you should know, Brammers, how to say 𝘵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝘀's name,
why is that, Josh?
Well, maybe you hadn't turned the game on by the time United went 1-0 up against Liverpool.
As I said, he's my beard goals, so
That's true. Yeah.
But no, like in all seriousness, I'm pretty happy with 𝘬𝘳𝗀𝗀𝗀𝘀 so far. I think it, as long as my Wolfsburg gold common cards boom in price for one of the puzzle SBCs, then it would be perfect.
And one point, I feel like it is. I say this every time I say it, but it is such a cliche. But like the Evo potential of some of the lower rated players is kind of interesting, because obviously 𝘃𝗲𝗃 and 𝘬𝗯𝘬𝘦 are both 84 rated. That's something that should be evolvable in the not too distant future. If they're getting role familiarity in every position, that is quite nice actually, for maybe future proofing those players, or giving you more versatility in the future and how you play them. But also because they have that right wing position, I think both of them have right wing, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
that actually will open them up to more EVOs for sure. But a lot of them are, I can see Josh shaking his head. I was about to say, a lot of the EVOs are restricted in terms of the number of positions you can put in
maybe
EVOs.
that's the thing.
So that's going to be something they can use to like clamp players out of EVOs.
They're nice cards anyway, though. I mean, like they're very usable.
Yeah, I was actually going to say,
nice
I do really like. If I was going to specify a player for pound, I'd probably go with
him.
him.
You're actually going to follow the format of the.
Well, I don't know who sets the format.
Up again.
I don't always agree with whoever sets the format. So yeah. Anyway, but he has really high. He's lengthy, but he has really high agility. He has 80 agility, 78 balance. Good composure reactions, ball control, dribbling, etc. So he's actually like a very kind of good on the ball centre back, which is nice, and has defender plus. So yeah, I think and actually fullback plus. Look at it. So yeah, I think he's a good option if you just want to put one in the club. If you don't want to go around picking up all of them, which would be understandable. So yeah, I think we'll talk a little bit more, because I mean there is a lot of good content to discuss, or at least good topics of conversation for content to discuss. And we'll get into that in just a second. And we do want to cover this week's big topic, which we'll do right after this break. Hello, and in this break, a quick reminder that the pod is made possible by supporters. The pod didn't used to be weekly. Yes, Foot Weekly wasn't actually weekly for a time. And then someone suggested setting up the Patreon. And since then, the pod has been weekly. And in fact, it's been twice weekly, because there is that supporter episode every single week. So if you'd like to catch that episode and keep the podcast going, it's just £3 a month to do so, and you get loads in return. And there are perks higher than that, including access to the Discord too. So if you're interested and would like to support the podcast, then head over and search Support for Weekly. Go to Patreon, and it's very easy to sign up. If you are a supporter keeping the podcast going, then a huge thank you for doing so. And if you do consider supporting, a huge thank you too. Right, let's jump back into the pod. Oh, welcome back after the break. Right, the big topic is big SBCs, because we are now seeing some pretty meaty SBCs. I guess the big ones to name drop are probably the 𝘵𝘃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝘀, which comes in at around 450,000 coins. And an important thing, which I'll say, and maybe we should say again because I think people will forget, these end of an era cards have icon chemistry. Well, they actually have better than icon chemistry technically, right? Because they also get the club impact as well as the icon chemistry. So we've had the 𝗵𝗀𝗀𝘀 and we've had the 𝗬𝗫𝘀𝘀𝘀, both of which have that icon chemistry. Like both look really well. We'll get into that. I won't give opinions yet. We'll get into that. But we've also had Foden and Rolfo, but we've had the gamble SBCs back again. This time the first icon gamble is here. We have had hero ones already, but we haven't covered them too much, so we'll talk about them. So I guess the broader question is sort of, how do we feel these are fitting into a game with a slightly different power curve, where maybe fodder is harder to come by, but also people have less coins, maybe less flexibility potentially to some extent, and people are trying to maintain more squads, that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll talk about all of that, but maybe we start off just by kind of giving a load our thoughts on these SBCs before we get into that. Let's start with 𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝘀, 450k. Josh, what are your thoughts? Is he someone that you might consider? Would you be recommending him to people who have that level of fodder?
Would I be recommending him? No. So I think he's very good, and I think for right now he is, in that elite tier of attainable midfielders. But I think he's missing a few things that you're not going to be able to replace with evolutions for quite a while, that I think will mean other players will supersede him for a lot cheaper in the not too distant future. The card itself is brilliant. Like, passing's really good, defending's obviously superb. But then you look at like dribbling, he's got very low agility and balance. He's pacey, but not super pacey. His shooting's kind of just average. Even physically, he's not that brilliant. His GG rating at centre mid and CDM for deep line playmaker is 88.6, which is only 0.6 higher than his actual card. Now, obviously, the way players play in game can be slightly different. The fact he gives icon chemistry is like a really big boost, and maybe it's worth us comparing. Should you do either Busquets or Jordi Alba, who's the other end of an era, or do the 87 icon risky party bag SBC? Because essentially that you're choosing to get an icon is usable, you can kind of get the most out of. Like, I'm torn with him. I think if you're a fan of Sergio Busquets or Barcelona or Inter Miami, then it's
Pep Guardiola for some reason.
Or Pep Guardiola. If you're doing a Pep Guardiola past and present,
then
I think it's probably worth doing. Tiki Taka Plus is a brilliant playstyle plus. It is currently one of the only playstyle pluses we've been given through evolutions, though, so it kind of lessens its value, I think, in some respects. He's got incisive and long ball, anticipate and press proven, but I think as much as those are good play styles, he's missing some others. Intercept, jockey, even like a quick step, maybe a bruiser in there. Like, there's only 5 play styles that he's got. They're good. They're all good. But I don't know. He's a really difficult one, which probably means he's priced about right.
Yeah, I do think your points on Sergio Busquets totally stand, and when you're looking at kind of value for, if you're more interested in that icon chemistry, which Busquets has, which I think when I heard this SBC was coming, I was thinking, oh, that could be good because that icon chemistry is really helpful. And like many people, you're probably finding that icon you got at the start of the game is not really cutting it. So I think if you're looking around for that, you can maybe look at the base icon gamble, which we'll probably come on to. That is, though, the same price as the Jordi Alba, and Jordi Alba is frankly going to be better than I think what you get out of that, almost certainly. And he is, well, actually the interesting thing about these is they have slightly better chemistry than icons, don't they? Because they have the club chemistry as well. So if there's a 𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝘀 you want to get into your team, for example, he's going to be very helpful for that. But also, he is just a really well-rounded left back. He has fullback plus, he has attacking wing back plus. He's got 𝗖𝗵𝗽𝗁+, which is maybe not the most useful. I know you're saying it's a common one at the moment, but actually in fullback, I really like it. I think it can be really helpful for just moving the ball out from the back really consistently, playing passes inside, just general build-up. And he also has incisive, which is really good for those through balls down the line to the winger. So I think in terms of build-up, he's going to be really good. But he also has jockey and anticipate. So he can defend well, has excellent passing and dribbling stats, really good defensive stats, 88 interceptions. So even though he doesn't have intercept, I think he'd be all right there. I guess, yeah, like not physically amazing, and he is explosive, even though he has very high pace, which is something to look out for. But I really think like he's just a really, really solid option for fodder. And I think I always prefer to pick up maybe more defensive players as SBCs, because I'm less likely to want to change them, I think. And so having him there, sit there at left back, providing chemistry, I think is just a really solid option and going to be much less of a gamble than the icon gamble. The player I didn't actually mention for some reason, considering I'm definitely tempted by him as well earlier on, is the Paul Pogba player pick, the PPPP, in fact. And I think, it's interesting, the contrast of versions. I think I've done an interesting job here with that SBC. And yeah, I'm interested to know, Brammers, your thoughts on that, or I think you mentioned him as being a good option earlier. But yeah, or good value earlier. Any thoughts on him or any of the other SBCs?
Well, I think that 𝘬𝘯𝘰𝘠 is a very nice SBC, and I was very tempted to do it until they released the Rise from the Grave EVO, which allowed me to upgrade my Andy Robertson, who I've poured basically all of the mini EVOs so far into. I was able to do him, so now he's like an 87 or 88 GG rated fullback for me, with many of the same attributes, and I'm less inclined now. But I think if I hadn't done that, if I was looking for a nice, as you say, like great option that is going to last me for ages, has a lot of really good play styles and stuff, then 𝗟𝗶's really cool. I really do like the idea of 𝗖𝗵𝗽𝗁+ on a fullback. I think that would be a lot of fun, and he has great other stuff like the incisive, so he's cool. Paul Pogba, I'm not tempted myself because I'm a Liverpool fan and I don't, that's not for me necessarily, but in terms of value, like sensational, clearly. I think a little bit like the 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘦 that came out the other week, they settled into this rhythm almost of doing a really cool banner SBC player at the start of a promo that a lot of people will be tempted to throw all their fodder at. And the choice option is nice as well. I think the clear winner seems to be, based on community consensus, not necessarily mine, the CDM version, but I saw 𝘬𝘃 enjoying the CAM version as well with the incisive plus. So I don't think there's a wrong option if you want to go with whatever you think is going to suit your playstyle best. And in terms of the other SBCs, I mean, as you said, Busquets is very good, a little bit dear for my tastes, but I have used central midfielders with 𝗖𝗵𝗽𝗁+, and they've been great so far for me. And if you had both of those players in your club or in your team, you wouldn't need to swap them out for quite a while. So overall, it's just been like I am pretty pleased with where SBCs are. I think the thing that I like is that there's no, like, in the last few years, there's usually been an SBC that just everyone does and you see forever, like Varane or someone like that, and it starts to be a bit annoying. And I think all of these are they have something that is a little bit not perfect about them that makes them, they're slightly flawed, and so they're going to be replaceable to people. I don't worry that I'm just going to see Jordi Alba, Biscuits, Goulet forever. Like, there's going to be something along sooner or later to add some variety in my opponents. In saying that, I still see Pina every game, but that's a different issue.
I suppose my question would be: is your desire to make a better Liverpool left back driven by anything?
It's a timely question. It is a timely question. You'll notice that I've done it to Robertson and not
yes,
he fitted it, didn't he, 𝘃𝗃, actually? So,
he did, but I don't have him. I'm doing first owner, so that's my excuse.
I see.
I tell you what, though, one thing we haven't touched on yet, but those player pick hero SBCs that they've been doing, where they do like a little trio of sort of like middle of the road, I guess you could say, sometimes fairly good, but again, slightly flawed hero cards. I think that's a really nice thing for them to have done, because the gamble pack stuff can be so hit and miss. Like, I've had two goalkeepers in doing 4 or 5 of them, and neither of the goalkeepers play for Liverpool, so that's not ideal either. At least if I had a Dudek, But no, it's been Campos, the inevitable Campos, and Tim Howard. So again, a usable goalkeeper, but Everton. But I like the more deterministic stuff where you can choose what you want to play. It's like it's almost filling a nice little gap between the pure gamble packs and the expensive player SBCs, where you really have to sort of lock into a single player.
Interesting, because that's not where I see those, like, because there have only been hero so far, the hero kind of player pick SBCs. I see them as replacing just flat out player SBCs for heroes and icons, for like cards that are already in the game. And I think it's a way to try and curtail the you only ever see this card in people's teams type thing. And so the only problem with that is it's very difficult to choose the players in it. You have to choose 3 players that are of similar value and are of similar meta-ness for like what people might pick for their teams, to try and like spread which one people are doing. And I wonder if that's why we've only seen kind of, let's say, the tier below the lowest tier of heroes so far. I wonder if that's why that's what we've seen in those, and how people would feel if we did get one that was, say, like a, Blanc, 𝘵𝘃𝗍𝗍, Ashley Cole type, trio, or I don't know what the relative prices are, but you get the idea of like maybe 3 players that would get into most people's team. Is that a better way of having icon SBCs without having to have it for specific players, where then if it's good, that's all you ever see?
It's a difficult question to answer. I think when you think about the sort of the way they've done icon SBCs in previous years, where as soon as there's one that's very good, it is just everywhere. Avoiding that for as long as possible.
You're at least giving they're at least giving themselves a chance of avoiding it, right? Like, whereas if you just do one player, there's only the one player. Whereas at least in this context, there is a chance that people are going to want the other options, and they can try to make it a pretty even chance that people will want each of the 3. So I think the logic is quite sound from that perspective, and it's actually kind of interesting because I think the SBCs get kind of less fanfare because they are picks, weirdly. Like, you don't see people kind of talking about them as much, or like there isn't as much kind of like, I guess people aren't like seeing the player and straight away twigging, they're from the hero pick SBC now. Whereas I've started to do that, but I think in it, people don't necessarily connect the dots and think, like with the 𝗬𝘬𝘬𝘀, for example, he was popping up and scoring against me all the time. So I'm sure lots of people had that experience and then went out and did him. Whereas I don't know whether that's going to be the case for these heroes. So it's kind of interesting from that perspective. Also, people just seem to, it's funny because it's the opposite of what I do, but seem to generally prefer to complete attacking SBCs and EVOs and all that kind of stuff. So there's a bit of a like bias in that direction sometimes, which is tricky. But yeah, I think overall it's a good concept. Just in terms of talking about kind of picking between the 2 Paul Pogbas, is definitely something people will be thinking about and maybe still deciding on. They are quite interesting cards actually, Josh, because they have both have some flaws and kind of certainly the more popular option I think is the defensive version, which has the Intercept Plus, Anticipates, which is nice, Incisive and Long Ball, Press Proven. The other one doesn't have Press Proven, actually, and I think that is a bit of a factor. But the CDM one, Josh, has 73 reactions, which is obviously, can be a concern because reactions are quite important. So there's some choosing between the 2 to be done still, I think.
There is. I don't know how special the CDM one is necessarily. Like, I think he's fine.
It's less unique as a card.
Yeah, like, I think there's something about having an attacking Paul Pogba at 6'3" with 5-star skill moves that, just has a bit about him going forward. Massive dribbling, like, good shooting. I think if you're going for a kind of novelty Pogba, then that's the one. I think the DM one is probably more long-term usable, but even then, like, is his passing that elite? Not really. He doesn't have any tiki-taka. He does have incisive, which is good, and he does have long ball, but his stats themselves aren't that great. As you pointed out, like, the top 3 stats in his dribbling are all fairly low. Defensively, he's decent, but he's got low stamina, low aggression. It's kind of... They're like interesting cards. I get why people were excited. I think people are glad that they can use a Pogba card again. He's kind of had so many good cards down the years, but this is one of those player SBCs that I think if you don't complete, it's the reason why you feel like you'll have more coins or more fodder further down the line. Whereas, people will go, how am I supposed to complete this? I don't have any coins or any fodder. And you look at their team and it's full of a card like Pogba. It's full of the heroes. It's full of the icon SBCs, because they feel like they have to go and complete them, even though most of the time you're getting a card that's good for the power curve right now, but maybe doesn't future-proof you in the long term. And I don't know that this is a card that's going to future-proof you. Even from a Lynx perspective, he's French, absolutely, but unless you're going to pair him with the absolute elite French players from PSG, you're still going to struggle a little bit with chemistry because, you're not really going to use a Monaco player. There's a reason inform 𝘃𝘀𝘀 𝗏𝘓's gone extinct. So, I don't know. He's an interesting card. Like, obviously, as a United link, there's a draw to him, but it's not one that I'll be completing.
The thing that's really interesting is I would say if you really love Paul Pogba, don't do this SBC and just start evolving a Paul Pogba.
Yeah, there we go.
You will make a better Paul Pogba.
That is the most 𝗏𝘃𝗀𝘀𝘁 answer player on this podcast.
And while you're there, go to GG Club, sync, and
I have a question. Speaking of Manchester United related SBCs, Fridolina Rolfo, I think is quite an interesting one. And I was staring at this the other day and thinking, I don't know. She was a bit of a club legend when they first added women's players to the game. So quite tempted, despite the obvious flaw now that she's playing for the Red Devils. And I was looking at the stats, and obviously the thing that draws the eye is the lack of a Playstyle Plus. But then I thought, actually, there'll be season pass Playstyle Pluses, weren't there, at some point? So what Playstyle Plus... Because her stats are actually really good across the board, and she's lengthy with an anchor. Is there a Playstyle Plus that you could put on this card where you would suddenly think, wow, that's a really amazing card? Or am I just barking up the wrong tree?
Well, it's interesting. And I would say definitely, without a doubt, even though it's very unlikely, anticipate plus. Because, I mean, it's just the most meta defensive Evo. I think although she has the trickster and she has really good attacking stats, she is ultimately like a really good defensive player because she's got decent size. She has a good spread of stats in the defensive category, which is going to be nice going forward. Yeah. And I think as she currently is, she is kind of going to struggle in some of those ball winning battles because she doesn't have bruiser and she doesn't have anticipate.
Right.
So I think the price is fair at sort of 60, 70k in fodder because she is such a good base of a player. But I would kind of struggle to use her. I think she'll be fine. She'll be okay at this point in the cycle. But I think you'll reach a point where you're kind of waiting then in the future to maybe within a few weeks, you're going to be at a point where you kind of probably preferring someone else and you want to get those Evos in to improve her. And I don't know, I doubt, Josh, in the next season pass, we'll see an 86 for those Evos, for example, towards the end. Like, I'm not imagining there'll be an anticipate plus with 86 overall, for example.
I don't know that we'll get anticipate. That's probably fair enough. I imagine it's probably going to be 85 rated or 84 rated. Would be my guess in terms of those season pass evolutions. There's a chance that it hits her, but it's probably slim. I think it's probably worth just pointing out again, she's a screen player. She's going to get role plus pluses in every one of those positions. If you're looking at her and thinking, well, I don't want to play a left back because she doesn't have role plus plus, she's going to get an extra base. She's going to get an extra role plus at left back. So, and that can't be attacking wing back. So unless they do inverted, you've got one that's pretty usable. And then you're also going to get the role plus plus at the beginning of December. You're going to have 2 weeks with a 99 stat. If that's in defending or physical, she's going to be unbelievable. So,
well, actually, even if it's in one of the attacking stats, like, she can play left wing and left mid, and she's going to have role plus and plus pluses there. So actually, there's I said to you, you might move her out of your team in a few weeks' time, but you might move her back in for a week of that time for sure. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Sorry, Josh, interrupted you.
No, I think she's one of those. I mean, if you're a United fan, you can do it. If you've got the fodder, then it's also one that you can do. But I could understand why, as an 85 rated squad, that's a pretty decent step towards a bigger SBC that might give you a player that's a little that you're not doing for the future. Whereas I think Rolfo's maybe more of an investment not from the past, but in the future.
Yeah, and actually, we talked enough probably about the players themselves. It's been quite interesting. It's nice to talk this much. I actually quite enjoy a little chat around, some of the player content, because sometimes I think it can not be so interesting because there aren't so many decisions to make, or it's just go do Ardagula if you want a player. So I think it's quite good. It's a good sign. But we were talking about this in the kind of broader context of SBCs and how they're fitting in because it's harder to get fodder and things. I think that's true. I mean, I do think, it feels like we're going to see a change, I guess, because we've got a new season coming. There might be an uptick in the amount of fodder we're going to be getting, that sort of thing. We'll see. But it has been hard, I think, for people to complete SBCs, and there are a lot of good ones around at the moment.
No, it's starting to shift, to be fair. Like, I think the new exchangey type thing they added is a slight...
Exactly, yeah. That's a really good point. So it's an 85 to 87 that you can get for submitting an 83 rated squad, right?
Free coins every day, by the way. Buy 83 rated cards for $8.50 in the morning and sell them for 1,000 at content.
Damn. Easy money. So, I mean, essentially... They seem to be upping the amount of fodder you can get, so that's obviously a good sign. But we've also had gamble packs. We've had the gamble hero. What do you think about that, Brammers? Is it something that's like, I don't know?
I can't resist them, Ben. I have to do them.
Yeah, I know. I was like, is it good? Probably not. Am I going to do it?
No,
yeah, probably.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on your They're not brilliant at all.
Have you done it? Who did you get?
I've done 5 heroes and the icon. So I can tell you that's quite a large sample set at this point. So my icon was 𝘃𝘃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝘀, which I think is probably on balance. Like, it's not worth the value of the SBC, but quite a usable card. 4/4 attacker. Like, I'm not actually upset about it. The heroes have been more of a mixed bag. I think I said already, 𝘃𝘃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝘀 and Tim Howard. I had, what's his first? Thomas Brolin, which I think is quite a nice one with the technical plus. The one I got yesterday from the 88 was Mario Gomez. And who was the other one? Who was my other hero? Let me quickly check. But the point is that there's nothing. No, it wasn't. There isn't nothing to particularly write home about. Landon Donovan was the very first one I did. Again, quite a usable card with the first touch plus and quite good position switches. But I love gamble packs. I'm very pleased that they did a thing this year where they didn't drop the loan ones in the first 2 weeks of upgrades, because they did that last year and it's just loans. But this year, going straight in with 86 max hero was nice. And you can get some quite fun stuff. As fodder becomes more available, everyone will be doing these things, or the party bags, whatever else they add. We're heading towards Black Friday. They're clearly just going to pile this stuff on. I broadly like it. I think, as we've covered extensively already, there's plenty of other options if you don't want to gamble. There's lots and lots of good players you can pick out at all sorts of levels. So, yeah, I like it. It's a fun part of the game, really.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, Josh, it's interesting because the hero does offer the chance of much more valuable players, actually, interestingly, than the icon one we've had. The sort of top end is more top, let's say, than the icon. But obviously, yeah, you're getting icon chemistry, which is kind of nice. But I don't know. It's always hard to speak on these things because it's like, yeah, they're probably not the best idea, but they are kind of fun and they give you the chance to potentially use someone you wouldn't have otherwise used. And if it's a win, it's really fun. If it's not a win, which it probably isn't, it's a bit sad, but you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, it's Schrodinger's SBC, isn't it? It's worth it if you get a good player, and if it's not worth it if you don't. Like, we're nearly at the completely open hero pack stage now. We're at max 88. There's only one more rating to go. And actually, if you look at the players that kind of get opened up at that 89 level, it's a mix, right? You've got 𝘵ally and Morientes, Papin, 𝘵ci𝗱𝗰𝗀𝘀 and Kohler, who are all kind of just average and will be a lot kind of cheaper than the cost of doing the SBC. But you've also introduced Ginola and Lucio and Voller and 𝘵𝘃𝗀𝗀𝗀. So, the 88 was a pretty meaty inclusion. There's a lot of 88 rated heroes and a lot of very good ones as well. So I think that kind of made it maybe a little bit more worthwhile to try a look at that one. Heroes are just so meh, though. They're like, I don't know what it is. The chemistry is just nowhere near as good as an icon. Like, icons just fix your chemistry so much. I mean, as we found out in the silver tournament, right? Because not everyone, but most of the people who were playing in that had at least 3 or 4 from doing the kind of objectives throughout the season. And it just made chemistry incredibly easy on everybody else you then put in the squad. So, yeah, like I like the heroes. There's some fun ones. I think the 88 rated is probably more worthwhile doing than the 87 ever was. But I'm trying to stay away from gambles as much as possible. I only did the first one because I did it in French because it told me it would be minimum 86 rated. And I got Tim Howard, who's 85 rated. And I've still not got my compensation. So when compensation... Oh, on the topic of compensation, I opened a 150k pack in Japanese because it is my third language, that said I would get 50, 84 or higher rated gold players instead of 50 gold rated players. And they changed that within an hour and a half. So I'm looking forward to my 50, 84 plus pack coming, which will definitely be being saved for Team of the Year.
Wow, if that actually happens, that's kind of wild.
I know, for 150k, we'll take that.
You'll get it.
Is it untradeable as well?
It was untradeable, yes. Yeah.
You'll get it during next summer, probably.
Yeah.
That's not coming days, coming years. Maybe.
coming.
And the pack itself just wasn't worth it because I got a shocking player in there, Florian Wirtz. Like, it just really wasn't very good.
Right, we'll take a break there because actually we're going to come back before we finish to talk about what are some pretty good EVOs, and more than one, which is a rarity. So we'll be back in just a second. Hello, welcome back after the break, and we can talk about some scarily good EVOs. And speaking of scary, a skull has appeared on Brammers' shoulder. It looks like it's in like a witness protection program though, because the blur of the video is blurring out, protecting the skeleton's anonymity there, which is of course important. But yes, we have had some scarily good EVOs. Well, at least they're not that scary because they're paid, which is something to caveat. So it's not like everyone's going out and doing them, but they are pushing players, closer to that cutting edge, I suppose, than we've had previously. Although I guess some of the paid ones have too, that we've had previously. But yeah, anyway, I think they're decent, if not very good EVOs. But are they worth the coins, Josh? That is the question.
Yeah.
Let's go through one by one. So let's start with the big fella, which is the Fellaini inspired one, right?
Yeah.
This is for a CDM / well, it is a CDM, but actually makes some quite good kind of more box-to-box players because it's adding the box crasher role, which is nice. But it kind of adds a kind of broad array of stats. And I mean, it's just giving a nice boost. If you look at the GG rating increase, it's quite big actually for some of these players.
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm hesitant with a lot of the kind of EVOs we're getting at the moment is that the rating that it increases to, especially for the midfield roles, is higher than you can get any of the face card stats unless they're not already higher. And so there's just an element with some of them where they've got to be treated with a little bit of caution in terms of over boosting players that maybe aren't very good. But having said that, a lot of the cards that come out of, all of these evolutions, part of the issue is that most of the best cards coming out of this evolution have been through about 6 others beforehand. And so it's difficult to go, this card looks incredible, because there's an amazing 𝗪𝗀𝗪𝘀 chain, but that needs to go through the intro to rewards Evo, the intro to evolutions Evo, the ice veins, phantom fallback, and then big fella. And it's it's so many games. It's so much time to have to go through. But if we go on those individual EVOs, I think the recent 3 are all probably worthwhile doing if you're someone who's running an evolution squad. I don't know that necessarily any of these players will be absolutely elite. I think if you're going to do that, you probably are looking at someone like 𝘂𝘂𝘂𝘀 for big fella, just because his base cards are already really good. I think 𝘂𝘂𝘂𝘀 fit in one of them, if I'm not mistaken.
The 𝘂𝘂𝘂𝘂 one looks very good, yeah.
And he's an absolute monster to play against. So I think they're all probably worth it. The big fella's quite a lot of fun. I think one of the areas where it's getting really difficult to tell whether an Evo's good or not is that the overall boost, it's very difficult to compare it now to the stat boost, because it used to just be on the face card stat. So it'd be, +5 overall, +5 pace, 5 passing, 4 dribbling, 3 shooting. You can go, okay, that's kind of okay. Now it's you get a couple of face card stats, and then it's well, now I'm at 8 interceptions. It's well, what does that? How do I compare that? One of the things I'm liking with these bigger evolution boosts is that they're really good for low-rated players in that the overall isn't really being capped by the boosts themselves. So, like, if it's giving a +6 overall, there's not really a worry about giving too much of a boost to some of the other stats. Like, it's for if we're looking at the Rise from the Grave, it's +8 pace and +8 passing. Because of the stat limits, they're not allowing you to create these super meta players by giving like huge boosts. But if you're doing it to bronze or silver cards, you're most likely going to get all of those stat boosts, which is usually a bit better than the overall upgrade. And that's
nice. Yeah,
it's kind of what people want, I think, when they're doing, you know, their hometown team, or they're doing, I don't know, I'm doing the Dong Throng. Like that's kind of what you want, to get those big boosts on lower rated players and not feel handicapped by the limits being placed on the top end players or people trying to do meta evos. And I think that's the line that they're beginning to get pretty good. However, it's worth saying it's 65,000 coins on the most recent 3 evolutions, and that is pretty spenny.
Yeah, they are quite expensive actually when you think about how many coins people have at this point. I would say, and I think, yeah. But that said, I actually do think like some of these are worth it, because the quality of player you're getting out of that, I think, is probably worth a bit more than that. And also, you're often evolving a player who maybe is useful for chemistry, or you personally like, or I don't know, yeah, various different reasons. Like, it could be a theme thing, like you were suggesting. And also, they've been quite generous with the roll plus and plus pluses. I mean, roll plus particularly, I know Josh, you were saying earlier it's not super important, but I was noticing on the fullback one, that one's only 10k, but it gives fullback plus at right back, which I think of all the roles, plus is actually one of the more important ones. It does seem to make a difference in terms of their positioning in that area. So I think, yeah, like there's a lot of kind of good things to say about this. Oh, an interesting thing I noticed as well is that with the big fella Evo, I was looking at putting a player who already had I'd applied the Cornerstone's rarity to, and one of the things to watch out for is obviously these Evos, the Ultimate Screen ones, change the rarity, and so that means that, you know, you won't get that Cornerstone's benefit basically. But actually, the final level, I noticed, didn't really add anything apart from Box Crasher plus, which, you know, can be nice, but I'm not sure it's worth losing that Cornerstone's rarity from. So you can basically go up to that point and then leave it to expire, and you'll keep your original rarity if you don't complete the final level, which is something to look out for as we move forward. I guess we'll probably get more chemistry related boosts from card types, and so being able to skip the final level is quite nice in certain circumstances. So something to look out for. And yeah, I think there's some kind of interesting options there, and I think certainly there are a lot of like good fullback combos now because of the different evos you can do. But yeah, Brammers. Sorry, no, go on.
Just before we move on, we can go back to. I'll let Brammers talk about those new evolutions. I do just want to quickly pick out Iron Lungs and Ice Veins.
I was going to mention
which came before, that are repeatable 5 times, which is the most repeatable we've ever had, and they upgrade really important stats: stamina, reactions, and composure, like across them. But you have to wait a day between completing one of them and starting the next one. And when you're having to do that 5 times, it's not a fun experience at all for someone who likes doing evolutions. You can't just sit down and go, right, I'm going to bang out all of my evos right now. Like even if it was you waited a day and from when you submitted the first player in to when it released, it would just feel a little less restrictive than it does right now. So
it's an important caveat for people looking to do them as well, because, you know, that if you're trying to do all of them, you got to leave yourself like 5 days before, and it's not before the expiry, it's before the last point at which you can submit a player, right? So it's not the expiry, it's the start before. So you're actually quite limited in a way because of that. Like you really need to like keep an eye on these things.
It feels like a legacy thing, doesn't it, where they haven't really done this specific sort of you can do it 5 times thing before, and so the system isn't quite set up for it. Because I agree, like the cooldown of 24 hours from completing it is just, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who has ocean, like I can have this going on like AFKing squad battles while I'm working, which is how I do a lot of the evos, and even I'm finding it a little bit oppressive. So if you actually have a life and don't have the game open 24/7, you're probably going to struggle to get through all 5.
I know, Brammers, you wouldn't call yourself sort of an Evo, I don't know, a serious Evo. What an Evo nerd, let's be real. But I'd probably call myself that. So, like, how have you found the approach to evolutions that we've had, and then how are you feeling about the slight shift here, I guess, to probably more meta evolutions?
I've actually engaged with it far more than I had previously. Doing this past and present first owner thing has been a bit revelatory for me, because it feels like a completely different game. Rather than just picking random players and putting them in Evos and having relatively little attachment to them and ended up with a ragtag group of nobodies, I've got like a bunch of players who I probably wouldn't have used any other. Like, I've got 𝗵𝘃𝗬𝘀, who Liverpool sold to Arsenal in the summer, and I put her through some Evos, and I've got who have I got? Like 𝘵𝘃𝗀𝘀𝘁, I know I've talked about before. I've been 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘦 I had on the left wing, and his stamina was terrible, so he's been through that iron lungs one. I mean, he's been doing the bleep test every day basically to get his stamina up, and I've quite enjoyed the combination of Evos so far. I think when it was those little bitty ones that were free or like 5k or whatever that were boosting a stat a little bit, I did tons of those. My Andy Robertson has been on the training pitch more this year than, well, I was going to say than in real life, judging by recent sort of Liverpool performances. And I like that. Now it seems like, as you say, they're sort of shifting it more towards the kinds of Evos that they used to have, where it's like a big jump for a lot of things at once, rather than the filling out the squad players kind of thing that they talked about at the start of the cycle. I'd kind of like to keep seeing both. I have use for both types of things. I think it leads to more exciting chains. It gives you more stuff to do in the game as well. It's nice always having a few Evos going. But overall, yeah, like, it hasn't produced for me any madly OP players, which I think is probably a good thing. But it's created some players that I have strong attachment to and who feel very unique to my club, which is also good. Yeah,
and I think one of the new concepts, which did exist before but is better now with this approach, is kind of fixing flaws in players.
Exactly
easy than it was.
The Chiesa is a very good example of that, because otherwise you could, like, especially in a game where the stamina sometimes can be quite an issue. The fact that he had none at all was definitely holding it back, and meant that he would be out of the team sooner or later. But now he's got a new lease on life.
Nice.
So that's nice. Yeah. So overall, I've been enjoying it, and I'm quite attached to it. And to the extent that I don't want to buy, like, I've got loads of coins because I was very, very fortunate in the early access period. But I packed Hansen. So, and that was like, so everyone else has been like, I've got no coins, and then all of a sudden I had 1 million coins. So it's like, asking like how much the Evos, I don't even know. I'm just saying yes to them all. But I don't want to go out and buy super expensive players and use them instead, because these are my players now. And I'm excited about them.
That's true. Right, Josh, anything to add before we wrap up?
Well, not on Evos. Like,
for once,
obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about Evos more in the future. But League SBCs are here. And I think when they arrived, I was happy because 𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗀𝘀, which is always the like sticky section, they'd changed it from needing, golds and a high-rated squad, and that was going to make it much easier. Unfortunately, because they've reduced the rating needed in the like premium League SBC, the mixed League SBC has suffered, because that still has a 𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗀𝘀 section, but all of those cards are now desirable for 2 SBCs, and you can do it with bronzes and low-rated silvers, which you never could do before. And so now the cost of both of the League SBCs are like silly high. I've seen some people say that the Premium League SBC is still really good. It's not. It's just not. You can combine it with bronze pack method. So the way that I'm doing it is opening tons of bronze packs, store everything into the club, send your duplicates to the transfer list until you've filled up your transfer list, sell all your League SBC duplicates, sell all your 𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗀𝘀 players, and put all of the rest of the bronze cards into silver upgrades until you've got enough Libertadores Sudamericana players to then do the League SBC. But it's so slow, it's so tedious. It could have been fixed with one change, which is to change the minor League SBC from Libertadores Sudamericana to, I don't know, the Indian League and the Argentinian League, or however you wanted to do it. If you just change that lower section, it means the minor league is something you can grind then, rather than something that's just not even worth looking at, which is what it is right now. And that minor league could then provide you with the Sudamericana cards needed or Libertadores cards needed for the premium section. So it's here. It's kind of yay, but also nay. And we've also got like daily upgrades, the premium bronze upgrades, premium silver upgrades, the daily gold upgrades, and then the daily rare gold upgrades, where you can choose 5 non-rare gold players into 5 rare gold players, but no higher than 78 rated, which is not useful for anything ever. So I don't know what the point of that is. And you can only do it once per day. It's like they think it's really good. And then you take your 5 rare gold players less than 78 rated and put them into the 85 to 87 upgrade, which is the next one in the chain that requires an 83 rated squad. I did say that I appreciated 𝗏𝗏𝗏 because there was a lot of joined up thinking on content. Maybe not so much with the upgrade paths.
Nice. Well, that was very concise. I wasn't expecting it to be that concise, but well done. Impressive roundup. But makes it easy when you can just be like, yeah, it's not that good, actually. Does this mean that bronze pack method is kind of good at the moment?
No.
Would be my only question.
Bronze pack method is dead, and no one should be opening bronze packs right now.
Cool. But you are, because you're trying to get bronze players.
No, it is fine, because the Libertadores and Sudamericana cards are worth lots of coins. But French managers, which if you're in the Discord, you'll know I tipped to buy French managers before League SBCs came out. And then League SBCs came out and everyone started opening bronze packs to get the Lib and Sud cards. And so now French managers are 200 coins.
Oh, but also, you said those League SBCs aren't out for that long, so that means maybe pick up your French managers now.
I mean, now they're 200 coins, definitely pick them up now.
Are you tipping them again?
Yes, I'm tipping them again. I'm tipping them again. But like that was the thing that was holding bronze pack method up, was being able to sell the managers, and now it's a difficulty to sell lots of managers, which is why bronze pack method's fine, but it's more of like a Lib Sud hunt than it is anything else now, which is not as good.
So maybe, I mean, it won't just apply to French managers, right? Stock up, if you want specific nation managers, it's probably a good time to stock up on those, which is generally like I would really recommend, because that extra bit of chemistry here or there is quite helpful. And whenever I notice our manager's kind of cheap, I'll just pick up a couple of those like rare nation managers. Seems to be a good way of doing it. Okay. Well, I think that does wrap us up. A lot to discuss this week, which has been fun. Look out for a sort of podcast dropping at some point out of the blue, which will be the interview episode. It could be at any time, may even get delayed a bit further, so just watch out for that. There'll be a supporter exclusive gameplay episode this week, which we're looking forward to, because we'll be talking about the patch a lot. Any thoughts on the patch, how you're finding gameplay post-patch, do send those in the various different ways. And we'll say our goodbyes. So thank you very much to Brammers for joining us, as always.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much from me and my friend.
And
happy Halloween.
Is that 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗪𝘀𝗀 potentially? And
this is the fate that will befall Liverpool players if they don't sort themselves out.
The skeleton reappeared for the audio listeners. And thank you very much to Josh as well. Always good to have you.
Yeah, it is spooky season. United have won 3 on the bounce, and the rest of the Premier League is scared right now.
Thank you very much as well to all your listeners tuning in. A reminder, you can subscribe via the various different podcast platforms. If you're catching this on YouTube, drop a like, leave a comment, and do subscribe there. And of course, if you'd like an extra episode every week, including that supporter exclusive gameplay episode this week, then do go over to the Patreon, sign up. It's just £3 a month for double the podcast content. Just search support for weekly. And thank you very much to all those supporters keeping the podcast going, including those icon patrons. Dave B, Darren W, Hugh J, Rob W, Josh R, Ralph, Brian, Michael B, Adam R, Make B, Michael H, Rob S, Michael K, Neil P, Jake S, Tom B, Alex M, Damon H, L, James B, Sam K, The Shirt Locker, Lee A, Chris G, Mark M, Dom P, Rob P, Roger D, Waterman, Also Ran, and 𝗪𝗎𝘂𝘁. Plus a special thanks to Luke M, Dave B, Hugh J, Tom M, Darren W, and Pato Foot for advice and production assistance. Before I leave you, just one more thing to add though. Ultimate Team is a bit like life really. It has its many ups and downs. If you're having a few more downs than ups in real life in these more difficult times, then please don't feel that you're alone or need to struggle on without taking action. If you go to thecalmzone.net, there's loads of resources, advice, support, or even just a friendly chat for anyone who needs it. If it sounds like it could help you, then head over to thecalmzone.net. And for now, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next podcast.